26, Jack Riccardi on 550 KTSA. Gang of Four is underway for a Friday. We love Fridays, we love weekends, and we love Gang of Four. We have Elaine Wolff here from Plaza, the ArmasTX.com. We have State Representative Lyle Larson, who's from the Republican side of things. We have State Representative Jose Menendez holding up the Democratic side of the argument. And you can hang with the gang at 599-5555. And we're talking about the Obamacare debate. All right, so in the scheme of things, Lyle Larson, you said that this galvanizes Republican voters. You were talking about 2010 type turnout and outcomes. But what about Mitt Romney? What does this do for him? How much of a change in the dynamic is this for him?
Well, I think he was in a dilemma if they would have overturned it. The reason being is the Romney Care program that everybody beat him up on in the primary. There's a contrast now that he's not going to be able to put together a plan. They need to abolish that, start over, deal with pre-existing injuries, all of those pre-existing conditions, all of those issues that everybody can agree upon. But now it's a fight. It makes it real simple. Either you overturn it and start over again, or you're going to live with it for the next 4 years.
Jose Menendez says this is a referendum about Barack Obama. And most people have said this election will come down to the economy. In fact, by November, will we even still remember this?
Oh, I think so. The small business folks will, and it's something that people have been watching for the last couple of years. The economy will drive the election. You look at the unemployment, you're going to look at where we are in the world as far as what's happening with the recession. It's not good timing for the president. Everything, if he had some more time where he could absorb this, but this is a big shock into the system and the political system, and people will be informed going in November. I think that it's a good deal for the Republicans from the standpoint that they're going to have a couple of strong issues run against the president and then have good sound footing to stand on.
Now, Jose, you were saying President will run on this. He won't run from it. That he'll run with pride that he did this. And we had Henry Cuellar on this radio station yesterday. I don't know if somebody gave him these words or if they were, sort of spontaneous, but it sounded it sounded like it should be on a bumper sticker. He basically said, the party that gave you Social Security, that gave you Medicare, has now given you health care. Is that how he'll run?
I can see, obviously. Look.
But will that work if this economy is in the same state it's in today?
No, if people are still out of a job, if people are still hurting, if the economy is as bad or any worse, I think it's very difficult. I think that for most people, everything I've seen is that there have been signs of improvement in the economy every quarter. I mean, as far as sales tax collections in Texas, they're up monthly, every month. And we get the reports. The comptroller is issuing its reports. So we're seeing improvements in the economy here. I think you're seeing improvements in the economy around the country. I don't think that things are as dire. I think I'm kind of glad for my friend Lyle Larson that he feels that things on his side are bolstered up, because I want a fair fight. I think it needs to be a fight on the issues, and I don't want the fight on ideological jargon. I'd like to see a fight on the economy, healthcare, the issues that matter to people, not what we talked earlier about, sort of these nuanced issues of border
shiny
fences.
objects.
Shiny objects.
Last
border
for a week
fences.
or two,
Right.
go away.
Exactly.
What about that, Elaine Wolff? Is this now a more substantive contest? Two very serious guys who clearly have different takes on these big issues.
Well, right. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. This really is a conversation about what kind of country we are going to be. And when Cuellar puts it that way, when Congressman Cuellar puts it that way, that is basically what he's saying, right? Like, this is a conversation about what kind of country will we be. You can get really substantive about that, but we've not seen that in elections recently. I don't know why we would suddenly hope that would be the case. I mean, I think this is going to get pretty bare knuckle, and it's going to be on kind of those big themes, And I do think that the Democrats have an opportunity now to say, so, okay, yes, we know we can do this. We know that we have the imprimatur of the Supreme Court. Now let's go back and talk about some of the little things that are bothering people. Can we make it better for small business? Can we make it better for, other groups of people who are unhappy about it? So it's not like this is done and then you have to live with it as it is. This is really an opportunity for them to say, we can do it. Let's make it better if there's a way to
I got to
make
be
it
honest
better.
with you. I hear what you're saying, and that's logical. They're not going to do that. This is the political party whose executive director in Washington tweeted, "It's constitutional, bitches," as soon as the decision was announced. I don't think they're going to be done partying before November. Yes, in a perfect world, they would say, "Wow, we pulled we pulled victory from the jaws of defeat. We got John Roberts. Let's quickly fix this thing. Let's eliminate any of our exposure. Let's make sure people like Jose Menendez, who are pretty moderate, are not forced to run defending things that are not defensible." But I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, and it would be foolish, by the way, for them just to sit back and be like, "Done, we won, we're out of here." That would.
But
not be the right
but
move.
political parties often are foolish in the
Yeah, yeah.
aggregate.
Can be, yeah.
They don't act like rational individuals. They act because they're not individuals. They're aggregations of people, and their actions, I think, in both parties are often kind of nonsensical. I mean, getting back to what you said, I wasn't sure if you were agreeing with me or not. I don't remember a presidential election year where 4 months before the vote, we were suddenly pulled into such a serious, big boy, discussion. It seems like in recent years it's been more of a personality contest.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, first of all, Romney has no personality, and second of all, clearly now this is going to be about sort of big economic issues, big differences on health care. Isn't this the kind of substantive election you're saying you wished we had?
No, didn't we? I mean, I do think, right, the election with Obama and Bush, we had very huge problems facing us, and there was, of course, on the margins, some really substantive, detailed conversation about those things, right? About the war, about the economy. But do not ever underestimate the ability of most mainstream media and many of the talking heads to make it like this really blunt ideological contest. That's what I'm saying.
It's, do you want the government to take over your life in the economy or in healthcare? I mean, you've got a guy that has been very successful. Has the government taken over our life in retirement, though? They have not. Social Security is there, but that does not rule your life as far as retirement goes. It is simply a safety net that is underneath there to catch the people who will otherwise fall through, and it does not control how people do retirement in this country. And that program is
safety
insolvent
net.
in 2017.
What kind of a safety net is paid for with non-existent dollars? What kind of a safety net is extended to people? This is like saying, jump off the skyscraper, and by the time you get to street level, we will have woven together the safety net. What kind of a safety net is that?
I am totally not following you. Of course there is money to make this happen. There will be money to make this happen. The government can tax and spend. The
If you're over a
finds
certain
revenue and
age,
spends it.
if you're over a certain age.
The Obama approach is just keep printing money, go 5 trillion further in the hole. I think that this is a big election, and I agree with Elaine. This is going to be a demarcation of where we were in the past and where we're going in the future. And I think what's going to happen is we need to have a guy that understands the private sector. And whether Mitt Romney has a personality that you like, Jack, or not, they're remaking him. He actually told some jokes on the campaign trail. He's starting to get people are getting more comfortable with him. But he has.
There's only one direction to go. But I will say this: I didn't mean that as a slam down of Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
But if you wanted two colorful people, interesting, funny people running against each other, you don't get that in this race. I actually think they would be wise to not try that with him. You know what? I think let him be who he is.
Yeah.
And for people that are going to vote for him, they're going to vote for him because they think they're hiring a guy that solves problems. When I hire a guy at my house to fix the air conditioning, I don't need jokes and witty patter. I just need the thing done, and I need to know by looking at him that he knows what he's up to.
And he does. He's got a great track record. He's going to lay out a very distinctive approach to dealing with our debt, dealing with this healthcare, or turning over the healthcare, and then coming out with something that eventually will solve some of the issues that the mainstream Americans believe need to be fixed, and then dealing with the economy. He knows how to create jobs. He can demonstrate that. The president doesn't have a record to run on. Right now, it's a poor record. So I think that's the issues. I'm glad that they're going to talk about that, and they're going to lay these metrics out about where we are and where we're going. And you can't blame Bush anymore. That's what Obama's been doing for 3.5 years. Now, focus has to be.
Now Republicans are
record.
blaming Bush for appointing John Roberts. So apparently you can still blame Bush.
Hey Jack, we've got 2 years of job creation. So March marked more than 2 years straight of private sector job growth, including the first year-over-year gains in manufacturing jobs since 1997. So the question that I have is, where are we going to get the facts? Because I don't think that, no one trusts CNN or Fox News. So where do people, independent, thoughtful individuals, go to get just the facts to make the decisions? Because, you know, obviously Lyle's going to be talking off their talking points. I may be talking off, you know, our talking points. So who's going to actually just give unvarnished, you know, here are the facts.
Well, I hate to break this to you, Jose, but there are actually people who figure out what's going on based on what they see in their own business or circle of associates.
True.
What's going on in their town or
in
their
their
industry.
microcosm. Absolutely.
Well,
Agree.
It may be a soda straw, but that's how they're going to decide.
But I want to know, for people, for everybody, where can I point people to say, look, this is what's happening to the nation. It's not as bad as doom and gloom as everybody's saying.
You're entitled to try that, but my point is not everybody is going to be receptive to being told what the economy is. For a lot of people, whatever they experience is
personal, their personal wallet.
Yeah, when the president said that everything's fine in the private sector a couple of weeks, that went off like
well,
lead.
you're going to have to be careful if you're on either side about making those kinds of, hey, you're doing fine. People don't want someone in their face telling them you're doing fine.
It sounds like mission
And the
accomplished.
key is the states that are going to
Exactly.
determine the states that are going to determine this election. They're not doing fine.
Right.
I mean, Jose's right about Texas. We've got a robust economy. We're growing because of the oil and gas industry. Our economy is turned. Those states that are critical in this election are not. They're still having double-digit unemployment, and there's going to be
Yuma, Arizona has 29% unemployment, I read yesterday.
So that's the problem. If you look at the metrics from how you get elected, and there's 6 critical states, none of them are looking good for the president from the standpoint of where we are in employment, as well as this health care deal. 65% of the folks were opposed to this health care plan prior to the constitutional challenge to it, and that's where I think that he's on the wrong side of the equation. I don't know if you can turn it in 4 months.
Sort of a points game. I agree, and I've talked to people in the Democratic Party who are upset, who are like, this is no dream. This is really, it is just a Band-Aid. This is sort of a cynical gambit ahead, you know, in an election year. But if anybody wants to say, now I have to oppose it just because he did that, even though it's a good idea, that's as cynical, if not more cynical.
Well, you don't throw a bomb in the room and then expect everybody to walk out and embrace an idea, and that's what he did. And essentially, he had 3.5 years to
You're
address.
talking about young people who are getting their GEDs
Well, I
or
mean,
the military.
it is a bomb because
come on.
there is the opposing party has had a view that we don't want to grant amnesty for folks that have been brought into this country illegally, and so
this is a Republican senator's idea. Marco Rubio has the same idea.
So I agree with what Jack's saying. So the better approach is to work that out and not say we want you to stand down on enforcement on a law that is that basically looks at the legal status of these folks and says if they are apprehended in whatever circumstance, they shall be deported. I think that he should have worked with Rubio instead of saying and jumping out there and saying, this is going to be an executive directive. We're going to tell everybody to stand down.
Here's the cynicism of Washington.
Here's
the cynicism of Washington. People say it's broken because they won't work together.
Right.
They won't work together because they're both parties absolutely refuse to do anything that they might have to share credit with. Yeah. And in this case, instead of giving the dreamers a solution that would be permanent, which is let Rubio propose it and then dare Republicans not to vote for it, he's done something that really puts them in a position where now they can keep treating it like a political football. And I'm sorry, but you thought when I brought this up, I was opposing the idea of letting them stay here. What I'm opposing is the mechanism by which he ordered that they be, left
agree,
here.
But here's my concern. Look, this administration has had higher numbers of deportations than under the Bush administration. Deportations have been greater under the Obama administration. A lot of that, this sort of gets lost in the translation. So for all the folks who are against illegal aliens and stuff, more folks have been sent back under this administration than under the Bush administration.
Yeah, but is that a compliment or a criticism? I can't tell.
Well, it's really proof of the fact that this administration doesn't believe in full amnesty. You know, this is not a pro-illegal alien administration. It hasn't been friendly.
But Jose, you're still arguing with me, and I'm telling you, I'm not against them staying here.
I get that.
I'm questioning the cynical, grotesque gesture that he made when there was an opportunity to do what we always say we want them to do.
Now, I will say though, if you are a young person, you fit into this category, right? It is a very humane act because essentially we're all agreeing that Congress is probably going to get to this, right? The conversation is headed in this direction probably. So maybe you get deported just because you fell on the wrong side of a timeline. I mean, nobody thinks that this is a dangerous group of people. Everybody, many people, I won't say everybody, many people agree. Our country was built on young, ambitious immigrants who came here to make a new life, right? This is a group of people we should be lauding and welcoming, not tossing off the shores because of an accident of timing and decisions
What is the
made
group
by
we should
other
be
adults.
tossing off the shore?
Criminals.
That's a good question, actually. I'm not, yeah, I would say criminals, and that's about it. Yeah, probably, yeah.
All right. Let's bring back penal colonies. I like that idea.
Hey, but Jack, let's get back to what you were asking. You asked me a question, and the issue is this. You're upset about the timing and the political,
No, I'm upset because he didn't fix it.
But
he
wait.
got himself through it. He fixed it for himself.
Not necessarily.
But he didn't fix it for them.
If they fall into these not having committed any crimes, they went to high school here, they're in college, they haven't done anything wrong, they came in as a child, all of these specific parameters, they're younger than
Right.
30, whatever. Okay, so now they fit. They can
Right.
come out of the shadows.
Okay.
Instead of working flipping burgers or doing something that no one's going to ask or out in the fields, they can actually go to college.
They can come out of the shadows for 4 months, Jose.
Not 4 months. They get approved for a 2-year deal.
Listen,
have you read the order?
Yeah, but 2 years. What's 2 years?
And it's not just 2 years. It's 2-year period. 2-year window.
4 months. It's 4 months until another
With no
president
cap-
could
with no
reverse
cap on
this
renewals.
order, and the 2 years is also, in my opinion,
Another
a
president
band-aid.
could reverse it, and he needs the answer. Will he reverse it or not? He hasn't answered the question.
Let me just say this. They had an opportunity with Marco Rubio presenting the opposition party's bill, which was, we are told, going to do essentially the same thing. They had the opportunity to permanently fix this.
That opportunity is not gone unless people have to make this about political gain.
Well, and maybe they will and maybe they won't. I hope I'm wrong. But my point is, he took the easy way out for him. Instead of saying, you know what, if I'm willing to let Rubio share the spotlight on this, we can put this away for good. Done. Finished. You cannot tell me that wouldn't have been better for that group of people, Jose. You can't tell me that wouldn't have been a better outcome.
I don't know if Rubio could have gotten the votes in the Senate.
Oh,
I don't know.
Then you know what? That's a teachable moment too. You could turn around and say, look, America, the most popular, charismatic guy your party has in the Senate, with his compelling personal story, still could not get these hard-hearted Republicans to do the right thing. I mean, I'm sorry, it is so obvious that he just needed to get through November. He needed to, if it isn't gay people he's throwing under the bus, it's these DREAM Act kids he's throwing under the bus. Nothing will get between him and re-election.
How is he throwing them under the bus when he's actually helping them come out of the shadows?
Because he helped them temporarily when he had the opportunity to help them permanently.
Well, that's a hypothetical, Jack. You're saying that
it's also a hypothetical that he'll be reelected.
Well, no, but it's in place now. They can come out, they can apply, they can get their 2-year visa.
As a result of a stroke of a pen from the Secretary of HHS.
Correct.
The next HHS Secretary can just as easily reverse it.
That's possible, that's right. So we
but
need to
maybe
find
also
out.
some legislation can be passed in the meantime.
Right.
What you're
But
saying
wouldn't it have
is
been
that-
easier to pass that legislation
We actually don't
before
know.
you gave that
You
order?
just said
We do
how
not
hard
know
it was
if it
to
would
pass a
be
bill. Didn't you just say it was extremely difficult to pass a
But
bill?
yes,
Is
but
Rubio- yeah.
we have reached the point where the other party is saying, okay, Uncle, we've got a version of
One
it.
guy in the other party. I don't know who else is with Marco on this bill. I don't know if anybody else is with him. Hell,
Well, let's
McCain
see.
got
Let's
McCain got
find out.
killed on his immigration
Let's
policies.
find out.
And McCain couldn't come out of the primary because of immigration. He had to get rid of all of his common
My
sense.
point is, he had the chance to solve it, and instead he solved it for 4 months.
Well, and
That's
it's
your
sort of like a
position.
promise, right? Like I've taken this step, so then re-elect me, we'll take the next big step. And you can also see it that way.
Yeah. And how much longer are we going to fall for that from both of these parties? I'll
Sometimes
gladly
it works,
pay you
though.
Tuesday
Every
for a
now and then it
hamburger
actually
today.
happens.
Well, the issue, I think, in the long run is there's a polarization of these parties, and anytime someone of one party comes up with an idea, and we saw it in the Texas legislature. I mean, there were times where Jose had a bill dealing with Kelly Air Force Base and dealing with the port, and we were trying to get some kind of consideration for that. You had to have a Republican stand up. I mean, standing on the merit of his bill just by the fact he was a Democrat, where you had 101 Republicans. you had a large group of Republicans saying, well, it's a Democratic initiative, we can't support that. And so essentially we had to run protection to make sure our local bills would go through, because that was, and on the other side of the equation, if there were Republicans were the minority, we'd have the same issue. I'd be over there saying, Jose, I really need your help to get this bill passed. So when you have the president that makes takes a polarizing action against the opposing party, instead of fixing it and sitting down, let's work this out. I don't think Obama's ego will allow him to do that. That's the big issue. He has continued to run his agenda based on how he feels the country should run, and he hasn't worked. And I think that's what we've had for about 3 decades in Washington. Whoever the president is, they say things that are provocative, and the other party feels compelled to go against it, regardless of the merit of the bill. And I think for us to work consistently, whether you're Republican or you're a moderate, we've got to sit down and have leadership that wants to work this out. They're going to have their ideological slant on the issue, and they should take ownership, but pass something instead of having the heated rhetoric, feel good about it, but ultimately we never get anything accomplished.
I think eventually people in both parties will get tired of the practice of saying, because the legislative process is difficult and lengthy, we're just going to go around it. Sooner or later, you may like this outcome or this action, but sooner or later there'll be a president who will do that, and it will infuriate you, Jose Menendez or Elaine Wolff, and then you'll come to me and you'll go, oh yeah, okay, I see what you were saying now. We really do want a system in which it's hard to pass a law, because laws are big, powerful things. It should be organic and dirty and difficult to do that.
What you're saying, though, in a way, right, is that politicians will re-embrace the notion that you can be held accountable for an unpopular decision. I mean, that's sort of been the case with declaring war or declaring actions that are a lot like war, right?
I think
it's sort
the
of nice
presidency
when the president takes
yes.
the heat for it, and you as a lawmaker can say, well, now we're just signing off on a thing that's...
War's a great example. War's a great example. We have now fallen for this myth that the modern world, moves too fast. We can't have declarations of war and hearings and speeches, and we can't. It's just, you've got to give the president a blank check, and he may come back to you later and explain why we had to have guys killed and we have troops over there for 50 years. This is bogus, and it's equally bogus to say, oh my God, if I don't issue this order on the DREAM Act today, people will die or lives will be ruined. He had time to do it the right way. Republicans were about to join him on it, and he saw an opportunity for a short-term political gain for himself. The only guy whose dream came true that day was Barack Obama. And I think at time, look, if Romney wins this thing and he governs with this same hubris, you'll be telling me in 2 years, now I know what you were talking about.
Well, and for me, here's the question. You said the big problem a minute ago, and I guess the big problem, here's what I want to know, right? When you as lawmakers are dealing with this incredible divide and you feel like you've got to, as you said, sort of buffer your initiatives against being seen as one party or the other so they don't get killed for that reason, what is the root of that? I don't know the answer. I mean, everybody says, well, okay, so at the Texas legislature, Tea Party helped swing the legislature so severely last time, so everybody's sort of scared of that. What is the root? Lawmakers say they're tired of it. Regular citizens say we're tired of it. But somehow it is being driven and it's still happening.
The root is packed partisan districts. The root is political redistricting that creates districts that eliminate a general election opponent. In Lyle's district, what's your Republican percentage? 80?
It's 68%.
68%. Yeah. So with 68% Republicans in Lyle's district, is a Democrat ever going to win that seat? No.
And you had no opponent, right?
I have no opponent. And so the issue is there. So Lyle has nothing to worry about as far as the moderate community. He has to worry about the far right, some crazy Tea Partier coming at him saying, we can't have Lyle Larson, he's too much of a moderate.
All right, well, anyway.
Civil case for emotional damages, I would think.
Last session, I was a joint author on a bill to get the TSA to straighten out. I was with David Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I worked on that.
How would it straighten them
making
out?
sure he's right on this issue.
Oh, man, we were, don't you remember part of that whole deal where the governor got involved in that? Yeah.
Jose, do you remember your days on city council way back when?
Of course.
Way back in the day. This will bring back some old memories from you.
27.
Both of us, yeah.
City of Houston has decided, as a way to raise money to fund rape investigations. There will now be a $5 per visitor fee on strip clubs. This just seems like a very odd
That idea
connection.
came out of the legislature.
Yeah.
We had passed a law for a $5 fee to fund domestic violence.
But why?
What do you mean, why what?
It's a continuation of the sin tax. I mean, if
Right.
you look
It is
at
a
it from
continuation.
tobacco, alcohol, and if people are going to go into the sexual-oriented businesses, then they feel like there is a direct connection to that and some of the activities
It's
that
an
take
easy
place.
target, too. It's an easy target. I mean, who's going to say they're against you putting a $5 fee on anybody going into a strip joint? You know, so, okay, and then the question is, what do you do with that $5 fee?
So how much of it is because you really need the money for rape investigations versus you're just trying to punish or express disapproval of a
My
behavior?
understanding that in Houston, they have so many, their crime lab is so backed up that they don't have enough, they don't have enough resources to they're not going through those kits quick enough. So this, I think, is a direct response to a real problem.
And you drive along the road in Houston, and they've got a lot of those businesses. So there must be.
I gotta
they
say-
probably ran the numbers and
My
figured out
first
there's a lot
thought,
of money there.
my first thought, Elaine Wolff, was that maybe Diane Cibrian had relocated to Houston. I just,
Well, I mean, and do we know, is there good solid research that connects visits to those types of clubs with domestic violence, with rape?
Well, now
I
see,
guess so that's a question, right?
I guess people are assuming
I understand the political
that, but-
expediency of doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's solid
I don't know
research
that there is
backs
either.
that up as a
What was the question, Elaine?
What kind of research there is that shows a connection between visiting those types of venues and rape or domestic violence? I mean, because I do think otherwise, you know, sin taxes, I totally get why sometimes they make sense. I totally get why they're easy to pass, right? Because who's going to stand up and say, we got
well, it's one thing if you're
strip location.
socializing the cost of
should-
somebody's behavior, but
But
as
do
you're
we just
saying, there's
socialize
no,
it in the right way?
there doesn't
Right.
seem to be any
Yeah.
connection here. It seems
Yeah,
sort
it
of
looks
random.
like
Maybe
it's
there is. I
loosely
don't know.
connected,
I
yeah.
don't know. That's my question. Is there?
But no one's defending, you know, obviously pole dancing on this show, Jose. No one is
No.
defending.
No, that's why I voted for
There
that
should be
$5
nothing
fee.
like that.
That's right.
I don't know if he's the first guy to do it. I'm not picking on him. I've never heard of this
You
before.
never pick on anybody.
The Obama campaign has a page on their site. I mean, listeners were telling me this, and I thought they were wrong until I looked for it myself. They have a page on their site where they encourage you, if you have a birthday or an anniversary or a wedding coming up, to ask your guests in lieu of gifts to make a donation to Obama for America, which is their campaign. They call it the Obama Event Registry. It encourages you, support the president on your big day by asking for donations in lieu of a gift. Let your friends know how important this election is to you. Instead of another gift card you'll forget to use, ask friends and family for something that will go a little further. It's a gift we can all appreciate, and it goes a lot further than a gravy bowl.
That button is right below the Kickstarter campaign button, right?
I gotta say, if you're inviting me to your wedding, you're getting the gravy bowl. But I don't know, this just seems very odd to me. Like, how much money could this really raise? And it takes $1 billion or hundreds of millions. Is this really gonna...
Every penny counts.
Hey, it's a
That's the sort of thing-
grassroots
yeah.
effort.
Yeah.
See, this is a way.
I'd be embarrassed to put my name on it, I gotta
I
say.
understand.
That's right. When you talk
Yeah,
about your
it-
donations, you don't talk about, you know, the $50,000 checks. You talk
Right.
about, you know, all these people gave me $5.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's a way for people to say, this is so important to us personally, therefore we'd like for you, if you care about us, to do it. I mean, we see it with funerals. People say instead of flowers,
Okay, but Jose,
contribution.
you invited me to your wedding, and
Correct.
thank you for that, by the way. And I was happy to be there.
Yes.
It was 1,000,000 years ago, but nonetheless. I would not have made a donation
No,
to,
I know.
let's say, Bill Clinton at
No,
the
I agree.
time.
I understand your point. I get
It's
your
just,
point.
the two don't go together.
I understand that. It doesn't make you do it. It's an expression of the person who's having the celebration of their values.
But it might also be a little misunderstanding, the idea being that somehow our circle of friends must be all like-minded people.
Well, if you live in Austin or San Francisco or
That would be true.
some other place.
You wouldn't even have to ask in that case. That's probably true. Japanese police are investigating a man who cooked his own severed genitals and served them to paying diners. But wait, before you get any, sort of Silence of the Lambs ideas here. This guy told everybody what he was doing. He put all this on the internet. He did it all very intentionally. People paid him $250 to attend this dinner. Now they're trying to figure out if he broke any laws.
Gross.
How many people
Is this
was
really
he able
the-
to serve?
He had 5 at dinner.
5 at dinner.
Trying to make it
Yeah,
sick.
that's-
I mean, I guess it would depend how well endowed you are. By
Is
how
this
many
is
people
this
you
really
can
the
invite.
lightning
They
rod?
don't
or is
grow back,
This
does he
is
know
pretty
that?
abstract round.
Well, it's more of the
I mean,
lightning rod than the lightning
Yeah,
round.
exactly. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm just it
I
struck
always
a chord.
dread
It struck a
the
chord
part.
with me in the whole sort of do we need to even worry about things like this
I
department?
don't think we
you know?
need to worry
Yeah.
about things
Yeah.
like
I mean, why are they worried if they don't have a law? If there's no law against this, which there may not be,
There
then
is self-mutilation. I mean,
everybody-
there is laws against it.
he had it surgically removed. He went to the hospital, had it taken off.
Sounds like a Darwinian problem.
Yeah.
Like maybe the okay, so maybe he and his
He says
guests.
philosophically.
Okay, very good. Jose's very deep thinker.
Yeah, I
here
tell you
today.
what, he's working today.
He is. I'm
going.
going to encourage all of our guests to bring in their iPad.
I was a little concerned the day after the Supreme Court decision, being here with Lyle and you.
You've done fine.
Well, thank you.
Speaking of sex, a new study says that for many people, sharing on Facebook, posting their activities, checking in on their location, is as satisfying to them as sex, that it actually triggers the same pleasure center in the brain. And when I read that, I thought, man, I'm apparently not doing Facebook right, Elaine, because
You're not having that much fun.
I'm not having that
Right.
much fun when I post on Facebook. What-
Right, the corollary, right, is that a lot of people might be having very bad sex. Like
Oh, is that it?
satisfying sex. I think
Oh,
that's the
okay.
corollary, right?
Yeah.
Like
Their sex
yeah.
life is so bad, they might as well just post
Yes.
on Facebook.
Yeah,
I
or they're
didn't
running
think of
around
it
full
that
of guilt
way.
or something, I don't know what. Yeah.
But it is curious, I don't know, I mean, if you do it, but there are people that seem to really like to,
What?
in great detail, tell you. Like, I have this friend who will put, like, a picture of what he's eating for dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I don't really, I mean, I don't know if there's anything wrong with it, I just don't get why that is
Right, so right,
satisfying.
another possibility is that for them, sex isn't one-sided enough. They're like, you know, they just want, just pay attention to me.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I had for dinner, I'm going to show you my new shoes that I bought, and it's all about me.
I think
Yeah,
it's an
I know.
extension of voyeurism. I mean, you think about it, the whole social media deal is everybody wants to see what everybody else
But
is
isn't
doing.
voyeurism me looking in your window? This is somebody holding up their new shoes in their own window and saying, I want everybody to know I have these. I don't know if is that voyeurism?
I'll tell you what, I'm finding all of that
Exhibitionism.
social media stuff is
Exhibitionism.
becoming like exhausting, right? Because now there's Google Plus. Somebody asked me to join Clout, something called Clout the other day with a K.
Oh yeah, I get
Yeah,
that
it's just
too.
like all of these things, and then there's these things now they're supposed to link all of them. It's like.
And when I
just,
ask
like,
what is
take
that,
it
they
all
say,
out.
well, it's like Facebook, and I think, well, then why do I need it? I have
Yeah.
Facebook.
I get tired of Facebook. I'm tired of all of that stuff.
Well, people get overexposed. So you have different people that are on your Facebook and they're hitting it every day, maybe
Yeah.
multiple times a day, and you go blind to them. It's like in politics, you can be overexposed. If you're in the news too much, then
Right.
people are saying, well, he's an opportunist, he's doing that on
And
his
don't
own.
even get me started on Farmville.
Ooh,
Yeah.
isn't I have blocked that.
Those are the worst. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
I know.
you Farmville
I had 3
people.
new chickens today. Right, yeah, that's
You are the worst.
I'll tell you what I
You're the
think
worst
is-
people in the world.
So you go into those applications where those people ask you to join you in Farmville and all of those other.
I'm not
things.
in any of them. I just get
don't
the
either.
requests and I
you
ignore them. They just
block
pile
them.
up.
Yeah,
You know what I think
yeah.
is cool though are the community pages, and those seem to have gotten a lot more popular lately. People do their neighborhood associations, or there's
Sure,
one called
that's
Scene in
fine.
Southtown here, where people post photos of things in their neighborhood,
That's
and that's
fine.
really people interacting about their immediate community, and that to me seems productive and cool and interesting, much more interesting than most people's individual Facebook. pages.
Not only do I not care that you're having pork chops, but I don't really need to see a picture of them. You know? I mean, I don't. Not
Yeah.
get unless you're inviting me over for them. I'm really not getting
Unless I
that.
pay $250.
Exactly. All right. Well, you can read her in plazadearmastx.com, and you should. In my opinion, she's worth every penny of that $5.95
Thank
a
you very
month.
much, Jack.
She's a $5.95 a month woman, in my opinion.
Almost free.
We're glad. Yeah, she's almost free.
I'm
Lane,
charging you an
well,
extra
This is a
$5.
subscription to a web information news
Sure.
site. Let's not try to. You're making denigrating. This
Yes, I
site,
am.
And I'm not appreciative.
and I'm
of that.
working my way over to you. No, I'm just kidding.
And he's trying to get a good article out of the PDF.
Exactly.
That's what he's doing.
No, and State Representatives Lyle Larson and Jose Menendez, gentlemen, thank you. I
Two
apologize
people
for
who
calling
care-
you
hey,
politicians.
Two people who care more about Texas than any party.
Good. All right.
I like that. I like that.
Very nice.
Well,
Look at
thank
them
you,
make
Jack. We
nice
appreciate
here.
it.
It's like we've brought everybody together. I feel like we're at the Camp David talks here. I love
Yeah,
this.
we're
All right.
working it out, Ed.
And we podcast Gang of Four. Look for it in the iTunes store and on the Jack Riccardi page at KTSA.com. It's 11:42 on 550 KTSA.